He could walk on water. He could levitate over buildings. He could escape from traps that should have been impossible. For years, Criss Angel was untouchable, the rock star of magic who blurred the line between illusion and the supernatural. His show, Mind Freak, wasn't just entertainment, it was a phenomenon. Millions watched, jaws dropped, hearts racing. And then, he disappeared. No grand finale, no farewell tour, just silence. The headlines stopped, the stunts ended, and the man who once dominated Las Vegas simply vanished from the spotlight. So what really happened to Criss Angel? Was it burnout, scandal, or something far darker hidden beneath the theatrics and smoke? As the cheers faded and the lights dimmed, a different kind of story began, one filled with pain, mystery, and revelations no one expected. This is why you don't see Criss Angel anymore. Before he became Criss Angel, the illusionist who walked on water and levitated above the Luxor, he was simply Christopher Nicholas Sarantakos, a quiet Greek-American kid from East Meadow, New York, with an imagination far bigger than his world. Born on December 19, 1967, the middle of three sons to John and Dimitra Sarantakos, Criss grew up surrounded by love, discipline, and the smell of his father's donut shop. John worked long hours, but never missed a chance to be there for his family. That balance between hard work and heart left a lasting imprint on his son. At 6, a simple card trick from his Aunt Stella changed everything. What began as a moment of curiosity turned into obsession. By 7, he was staging living room shows with makeshift props and wild determination. While other kids played outside, Criss spent hours perfecting sleight of hand, studying magic books, and rehearsing escapes until his fingers cramped. He earned his first $10 at 12, performing at a birthday party, a small gig that lit the fuse of destiny. From diners to nightclubs, he took every stage he could find, winning over audiences with a mix of mystery and intensity. Bit by bit, the boy from East Meadow transformed himself into Criss Angel, the mind freak who made the impossible look real. Just as his rising career began to take shape, tragedy struck. Criss's father, his biggest supporter and moral compass, was diagnosed with stomach cancer. Doctors said he had only weeks to live, yet John fought for more than 3 years, defying every prognosis. Criss never left his side. He believed deeply that the mind ruled the body, often saying, "The body is a slave to the mind." Watching his father's battle became the most defining experience of his life. In 1998, as he held his father's hand during his final moments, everything changed. "When my father died in my arms," he later said, "it had such a profound effect on me that I knew I had to confront my own fears." From that moment on, he pushed every boundary, physically, mentally, spiritually. To conquer his fear of pain, he performed stunts that defied belief, even suspending himself from a helicopter by fishhooks through his skin. For Criss, every stunt became a tribute, a way to honor the father who taught him strength and faith. Each dangerous act was driven not by ego, but by grief transformed into purpose. From then on, Criss Angel wasn't performing to impress. He was on a mission to show that pain could become power, and that the impossible could, in fact, be real. In his book, Mind Freak: Secret Revelations, he calls his father the glue that held our family together. Every illusion, every escape, every breathtaking feat carried that love. Beneath the rock star persona, the leather, the eyeliner, the fire, was still the determined boy from East Meadow finding healing through art. He often said his greatest reward was seeing people feel inspired after his performances, believing they too could face their fears. That, he explained, was the real magic: courage, transformation, and hope. Criss Angel's story isn't just about a magician's rise to fame. It's about a son who turned loss into legacy, proving that real magic isn't about tricks or smoke, but about faith in what's possible, even when the world tells you it's not. Criss Angel's rise was anything but easy. From the time he was 6, He poured himself into his craft, facing years of rejection, financial hardship, and countless nights performing in small, forgotten venues. He worked multiple jobs just to survive, but quitting was never an option. "It's funny," he once said, "my so-called overnight success actually took 15 years. Back then, my only car was my mom's Hyundai. That humility reflected the grit that shaped his journey." Inspired by Harry Houdini, Criss refused to imitate anyone. "I stayed away from magicians because I didn't want to think like them," he explained. "I wanted to create my own style." And he did. By fusing magic with rock music, storytelling, and real danger, he turned every show into an adrenaline-fueled spectacle. He didn't just perform tricks, he redefined what magic could be. And that fearless originality transformed Criss Angel from a struggling dreamer into one of the most iconic illusionists of his generation. In 1995, Criss formed a band called Angel Dust, fusing heavy metal with illusion, a bold experiment that led to their 1998 debut album, Musical Conjurings from the World of Illusions. "For me, music and magic weren't separate," he said. "They were two sides of the same creative fire." By his early 20s, he had moved to New York City, performing non-stop in clubs, theaters, and private events until his name began to spread. By the mid-1990s, he was already on stage at Madison Square Garden, performing up to 60 shows a day at the World of Illusion Conference, a testament to his stamina and obsession with perfection. Through it all, his family remained his anchor. His mother, Dimitra, rarely missed a show and often helped manage his growing career. "My mom was there for every show, every setback, every success," he recalled. That love gave him the strength to push forward. Criss Angel's rise was built on grit, innovation, and an unshakable belief in the impossible. From a boy enchanted by a simple card trick to a performer who redefined modern magic, his story proves that success comes not from luck, but from passion, sacrifice, and the courage to dream differently. When Mind Freak premiered on July 20th, 2005, it wasn't just another magic show. It was a revolution. Criss Angel turned illusion into spectacle, mixing danger, rock energy, and psychological intensity in a way television had never seen. He didn't want to simply entertain, he wanted to shock, to make audiences question what was real. The show combined street magic with massive death-defying stunts, from hanging off helicopters by fishhooks to levitating between skyscrapers and even walking on water. Every episode felt like a high-voltage concert of fear and fascination. By the early 2000s, Criss had already earned a reputation as a daring innovator. His fusion of classic illusion, heavy metal flair, and raw storytelling made him impossible to ignore. That originality caught the attention of A&E, which gave him the stage to unleash Mind Freak. The first season of Mind Freak delivered 15 adrenaline-filled episodes that shattered expectations of what magic could be. One of its most talked-about moments came when Criss Angel hung from a helicopter by hooks pierced through his skin, a stunt equal parts horrifying and mesmerizing. Another, his levitation between two buildings, seemed to defy gravity itself and turned the show into an instant phenomenon. As Mind Freak continued, Criss pushed his limits even further, walking on water, lying on broken glass as a steamroller passed over him, and escaping from a cement block underwater. Each season raised the stakes, blending spectacle with danger in ways no one had dared before. But beyond the shock factor, the show was celebrated for its creativity, cinematic production, and Criss's commanding presence. Part rock star, part daredevil, all magician. He didn't just entertain, he redefined modern magic and inspired a new generation to dream bigger. The cost, however, was real. Years of punishing stunts left his body battered, marked by injuries and exhaustion. Yet for Criss Angel, pain was just another illusion, one more limit to conquer. The toll of Mind Freak was something Criss Angel felt deeply, Beyond the physical pain and exhaustion, he faced criticism from within the magic community. Some purists accused him of chasing spectacle over substance, arguing that his dangerous stunts overshadowed true artistry. But Criss never wavered. He believed that to keep magic alive, it had to evolve, to surprise, to provoke, to reach new audiences, and by every measure, he succeeded. Over 6 seasons and 96 episodes, Mind Freak captivated millions, earning awards and transforming television magic into a global phenomenon. For fans, it wasn't just a show, it was an experience, a roller coaster of fear, awe, and disbelief led by a magician unafraid to risk everything. In the end, Mind Freak became more than a series of stunts. It was a revolution, blending illusion with the energy of rock, the drama of reality TV, and the heart of human endurance. Criss Angel proved that real magic isn't about card tricks or props. It's about daring the impossible and inspiring others to believe that they can too. After 6 groundbreaking seasons that redefined magic for television, Criss Angel's Mind Freak ended in 2010. Not because of cancellation or controversy, but because Criss chose to step away. After years of pushing his body and mind to the limit, hanging in straitjackets, escaping water tanks, and flirting with death for every stunt, he knew it was time to pause and reinvent himself. The decision wasn't about slowing down, it was about evolution. Criss set his sights on an even bigger challenge, the Las Vegas stage. His next venture, Believe, was launched in partnership with Cirque du Soleil at the Luxor Hotel and Casino. The concept was daring, a fusion of Criss's intense reality-bending illusions with Cirque's signature acrobatics and theatrical artistry. On paper, it sounded unstoppable, a marriage of 2 creative forces poised to change live entertainment forever. When Believe premiered in 2008, the response was anything but magical. Critics panned it, audiences left puzzled, and the show's grand ambition seemed to fall flat. But Criss Angel wasn't built to quit. Failure to him was just another illusion to overcome. Determined to save his Vegas dream, he took back full creative control and rebuilt the show from the ground up. By 2013, Believe had transformed into Mind Freak Live, a high-octane spectacle packed with his signature illusions and daring new stunts created specifically for the stage. The result was electric. Night after night, Criss filled the Luxor with stunned audiences who couldn't look away. Under the bright lights of Las Vegas, his career soared higher than ever. But behind the scenes, his personal life took a devastating turn. In 2015, Criss received the news no parent is ever ready for. His young son, Johnny Christopher, just 20 months old, had been diagnosed with acute lymphoblastic leukemia, a fast and aggressive cancer. He went into remission for about a year, Criss recalled. Then I noticed his testicle was swollen. One of the signs. Cancer in boys hides either in a testicle or in the head, so we were very aware of that. In an instant, all the fame, flashing lights, and roaring applause lost their meaning. Criss Angel, the man who had escaped coffins and levitated above the Luxor, now faced a battle far more terrifying than any stunt, his son's fight for life. When little Johnny was diagnosed with leukemia, Criss dropped everything. He stopped performing, canceled appearances, and devoted himself entirely to being by his child's side. Days and nights blurred together in hospital rooms as he held Johnny's hand through chemotherapy, carrying a pain no illusion could erase. He later called it the darkest, most heartbreaking chapter of his life, a time filled with fear, exhaustion, and helplessness. But Criss refused to let tragedy define him. Discovering how little funding existed for childhood cancer research, he turned his grief into purpose. He founded the Help Foundation, Heal Every Life Possible, to support affected families and raise money for research. He organized star-studded telethons like Help for Hope, bringing magicians, musicians, and fans together to fight for kids like Johnny. Even on stage, Criss shared his son's story, reminding audiences that true strength comes from love. Through it all, he proved that his greatest feat wasn't escaping death or defying gravity, it was transforming pain into compassion and using his platform to heal others. In the end, Criss Angel's most powerful magic wasn't performed under bright lights. It was found in the quiet, relentless courage of a father's heart. They say magic is built on illusion, but for Criss Angel, it became something deeper, a shield, a form of therapy, and a way to survive the unimaginable. While other magicians made rabbits vanish, Criss turned heartbreak into art. Every stunt, every gasp from the audience carried the weight of a father fighting through pain. When his young son, Johnny Christopher, was diagnosed with leukemia, the bright lights of the stage were replaced by the sterile glow of hospital rooms. Yet instead of stepping back, Criss transformed. He poured his emotions into his work, reinventing Mind Freak at Planet Hollywood into something far more powerful, not just a magic show, but a reflection of his inner struggle. Through sleepless nights and relentless worry, he kept creating. His illusions became more personal, charged with meaning and heart. What once amazed now also moved. Fans could feel it, the raw emotion beneath the spectacle, the courage behind every act. Criss Angel was no longer performing for applause. He was performing for hope, proving that even in life's darkest moments, the human spirit can still create light. Criss often spoke openly about how Johnny's illness changed him. Watching his son face fear with such bravery inspired him to find strength he never knew he had. Each performance stopped being just a show. It became his way to heal, to cope, to keep some sense of normalcy amid chaos. Messages of love poured in from around the world. Fans donated, wrote letters, and reminded him he wasn't alone. That support became a lifeline, giving Criss and his family the strength to keep fighting. In time, there was a glimmer of hope. Johnny's condition began to improve, and moments of remission brought cautious joy. Still, Criss remained steadfast, using his voice to raise awareness for pediatric cancer and support other families in the same fight. While Criss's personal journey is deeply emotional, the mystique that made him famous has never faded. From the start, he refused to be just another magician. He built a persona that blended rock star confidence with gothic mystery. Dressed in black, eyes lined in shadow, he made magic feel like a gateway to another realm. His extreme stunts and dark aesthetic inevitably sparked rumors. Fans whispered about the occult, even satanic pacts, and debated the meaning behind his stylized A logo. Criss didn't deny the intrigue. He embraced it, letting the mystery fuel his legend. But behind the theatrics, he's always been clear. It's all illusion, powered by relentless work and innovation, not the supernatural. The darkness is part of the act. The brilliance is real. Criss Angel isn't just a performer, he's a father who turned pain into strength, an artist who transformed loss into legacy. He reminds the world that even in life's darkest corners, wonder still exists. And as long as he's breathing, Criss Angel will keep performing, not just for the applause, but for love, hope, and the magic of never giving up.